Colby. I gotta finish a little bit of Daniel's story before I continue. That day I spent in his house in Lafayette, Louisiana, back in 1997. It was kind of interesting how I found him. I was horrible with the computer, but I was just looking one day at the best in a segment, the best available high school seniors in America. And I come across this one thing, and across the top, it was almost like an outline of nationally ranked guys. It had the top 8 wrestlers in America, and I see this guy named Daniel Cormier, Louisiana. And I remember to this day telling my wife, how can that be? There's nobody good in Louisiana. There are no coaches down there good enough to teach a guy that's number 6 or 7 in the whole nation. That's every wrestler in the United States. You're talking several 100,000 people, and he's like in the top 8. So I decided I'm going to find this guy. So I started calling. First of all, I called Division I coaches that I knew, and I did find that there was a chance that he might have to go JUCO first. Now, Daniel's a smart guy, but he did not like going to class in high school. And it was actually a great, huge, nice thing for us because we needed to get him going academically, and there was no shortage of brain power. It just was a matter of getting him motivated to go to class, and he was on his way. But I do remember, like always, it was just like yesterday, sitting in his house. I flew down there. I told my wife when I left town, I don't care if I get one other guy this year. I gotta have this guy. And I had never met him. Didn't know a thing about him except I just knew how good he was, and I knew the weight class he was at. And we did. We sat in that living room. I'll never forget his mother. We had the films running. Remember that? And his mom would start watching them, and she would start getting all fidgety and nervous like mothers do. She was cooking Cajun food. Oh man, did that smell good too. But she would start to sweat watching those matches. Name's Audrey. What a wonderful mom you have. And oh my gosh! But I stayed all day, and I tell you, I had a blast too. It was a great day. I'm real tough until I do stuff like this. But anyway, Daniel did, right on the front lawn. The sun was going down, and I asked you, I said, are you a man of your word? Because you already said, I'm coming to Colby if I can't get into D1. And he said, yes, coach. And I told you that too, Mr. Carter, didn't I? I said, don't worry about Daniel. He tells me he's going to do something, he's going to do it. He's never let me down yet. So anyway, everything went absolutely wonderful. We had an amazing career, and it was an amazing team. And Daniel mentioned our national tournament. We did something that day on Friday that is impossible. We won all 19 matches in a row. We got to number 20, and it was Alex Haynes, our heavyweight, the old heavyweight from Colby. And just by some terrible chance, he's wrestling a Minnesota kid and happened to have a Minnesota referee. And he did favor the Minnesota wrestler, and Alex ended up losing that match. And I was sick. We already had the national tournament one, but I was sick because we were going to have one guy not place, maybe. But he fixed that the next morning in the first round. And boy, did he do it in a big way. All right, and another thing I'd like to say, and I think Daniel might have even forgotten about this one, but you'll remember as soon as I say it. As soon as he finished at Oklahoma State, he wanted to come here and coach with me. And I thought, oh man, wouldn't that be amazing? And then one day, after about 3 weeks, I said, you'd mind if I put that online? Because that is a great recruiting tool, because bigger weight wrestlers like knowing that there's a really good big weight coach at that facility also. But anyway, as I got to thinking about that, one day I was talking to Daniel on the phone, and I said, you know, Daniel, I think honestly I really think you should try out for the Olympic team. Oh, no, Coach, I'm not that good. I'm not that good. I said, I think you are. Remember that phone call? Well, about 3 weeks later, Daniel called me and he said, you know, Coach, John Smith, who's the coach at Oklahoma State, just said the same thing. I said, Daniel, you got to do it. But he said, Coach, I can't do it in Colby. I said, no, you got to stay there and work with the club. And sure enough, he makes the Olympic team. That made me cry. The day I heard that, I didn't know what yard I was working in when I heard it. But absolutely amazing. And I was fortunate enough to get to go to both Olympics, Athens, Greece, and Beijing. And I tell you what, there is nothing in this world, you can't even comprehend it until you experience it. But to be sitting in the stands in another country and have an introduction and a guy you coached walks out, and you're thinking, my God, this is the biggest stage in the world. And that's my man Daniel. So, absolutely phenomenal. And he's taken me on quite a ride, actually. And in the basis of my talk today, and I haven't got started yet, I hope you can stay in a little while. Great coaches are made by their athletes and all the supporting people. I mean, you can win all the Coach of the Year awards. Your players and your backup people do it for you, literally. And I think Daniel will remember this like yesterday too. The last regional tournament he was in Powell, Wyoming, they didn't vote for me Coach of the Year, but our region is disgustingly political. You get to where you don't even care anymore who wins it, because they just give it to however they're feeling that night. And Daniel and the guys were really mad that I didn't get it. And I said, hey guys, don't worry about it. We're just going to win the big one. This one doesn't even matter. And they finally settled down in the bus, and we certainly did that, and it was amazing. But those 7 guys pulled it off, and they did probably one of the most amazing athletic feats that's ever been done in junior college history. In any sport. It was absolutely incredible. All right, so I'm going to start, and here we go. I'd like to thank you, first of all, Daniel, for coming down. This is just absolutely amazing to have you here. And it's people like you and about 900 other guys that made the wrestling program incredibly good here, and we have an absolute wonderful history. And we hope we get it back that way again, and I think it's coming. And I want you to know also that it's great to have you make the honors and get an honor all on the same day, and you absolutely, without a question, are our GOAT. GOAT, for those of you that don't watch ESPN, is, right? Greatest of all time. And that was one thing Mr. Carter and I talked about 3 years ago, that we should name the facility after the greatest wrestler of all time at this college. Who was it? And there wasn't any question about it. Let me say a couple things about Daniel that you haven't heard yet. Daniel was a 3-time state champion in Louisiana. He's also a first-team All-Stater linebacker in football. The cool thing is, the head coach from LSU went to his house one night trying to recruit him, and Daniel just stopped him and said, "You have wrestling?" Well, they had just dropped it. After placing like 4th in the NCAA, they dropped wrestling. And Daniel, and of course the football coach said, "No, we don't have it." He said, "Well then, I'm not coming to LSU because I want to wrestle." So he just flatly shut him down. He was a 2-time national champion here at Colby. Never once lost to a junior college opponent in those 2 years. Lost a couple strange ones and others, but that's a very rare feat. We only had 3 wrestlers out of about 1,000 that did that day. So that's amazing. He's also what I call an automatic, and there aren't many of them. This is a guy that can get bonus points in almost every match they wrestle. And by the way, at Oklahoma State, he was the number 4 point getter. He lost to Cale Sanderson, but he made more team points than 7 of the NCAA champions did, because in pins and tech falls, almost everybody wrestled. It's like having another All-American on your team built into one unit. So, and he did that for us the whole way too, but that's absolutely amazing. The other thing, now we all know that he's a two-time Olympian, but this is to me one of the most amazing stats and things I've ever seen in an athlete. Daniel went 7 years after Oklahoma State, never lost to one American opponent. Imagine that. 7 years. This is a guy trying out for world and Olympic teams. In high school, there's 14 weight classes. College, there's 10. How many in Olympic now? 6? 6. So what happens is, as the farther you go, the more incredibly concentrated the talent field becomes. So Daniel's beating 2 and 3-time NCAA champions about every other month. 2 of them, his own teammates from Oklahoma State, who were both NCAA champions, he beat them. Holy moly. I mean, this is real stuff. But to me, Daniel, that is the most amazing thing I have ever seen in a wrestling. So, congratulations on that one. Alrighty. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out today. This is just, to me, the most phenomenal thing that's happened at this college in 55 years. There's been a lot of great things happen, but this one to me is very special because I thought I was all checked out, and then about 3 or 4 years ago I decided, man, I gotta do something, we gotta do something, and I got to know Seth Carter again, working in his yard. How did that happen? First time I met Seth at his house, he said, made some quick comment. He was in a hurry, and he said, I've heard some things about you. And I said, oh my gosh, I hope it isn't too bad. No. And I said, well, and I don't know what brought this to my head so quickly, but I said, you know, Seth, if you work as long at Colby College as I did, you will be a gray-haired grandfather. You'll be 61 years old. And he goes, oh. That's the only thing I heard. Was that? You remember that?
I don't. You see all that. I don't know that.
Something you don't want to think about just quite yet. But believe me, it goes by in a hurry. Okay. I'm absolutely thrilled that you people and everybody that supported, donated, and backed this thing, let this thing become a reality, because what it's gonna do is it's gonna offer every student, athlete that comes into Colby College a much better possible chance of achieving excellence. It is a great recruiting tool. You know, when students walk on a campus, the first thing they see, especially the outstanding ones, they look at the facilities and they think that the school either cares or they don't care about what I am. You know, a wrestler, a baseball player, what is it? Man, these people care. And man, look at this facility. I can hit and throw all winter. Wow. I watched these guys stay in shape all winter swimming. For a long time, didn't I? I saw him every day. That's not really the right way to get ready for baseball, but it's all they had, so they went with it. So anyway, this facility is a game changer for everyone in sport. Coach's ability to attract and sign athletes will be tremendously increased. And I have had, over the years, thousands of people, it seems like, and especially after I retired, just ask me, how in the world did you do it? How did you do it? Well, some of it was kind of tricky, but not illegal, and it wasn't unethical either. But one of my great tricks was to not have students visit campus. That's the truth. I had a 75% chance of signing them if they didn't see my facilities. And if they came to visit and insisted on it, my chances were about 25% of signing them. And believe me, other coaches like Ostrander at Iowa Central and Neosho and some of those guys who wrestled here all the time, Man, they hammered it into recruits' heads that we were competing for, and that'd be their first question. Man, you ever seen where they wrestle? You ever seen their weight room? They don't even have one. I mean, they blasted us with that in their recruiting argumentation, and I know it worked in a lot of cases. But anyway, that's what I would do, and after I found out that it was legal, that you could give a recruited athlete one plane ticket. Many of my guys would take the plane ticket, and that's how they would get to school in the fall, and then they could use the return ticket to get home for Christmas on the backside. And it was all technically legal and perfect, and that was just one of the things that we would do. And I would make them a lot of promises, just like I did Daniel, and I think they knew and felt like that they were working with a guy that was being truthful. In fact, I know Daniel's mother, at the end, when Daniel was a little bit confused about maybe where to go, said, Coach, you got to do what Mom says. But Mom told Daniel, that little coach from Colby, I think he's an honest man. I think I want you to wrestle for him. Do you remember that conversation? Anyway, so I was very flattered with that. Okay, I want to start here again and I got to thank a lot of people, but I'm not going to list 2,000 people, or people would miss dinner. I'm going to start with my family, my wife Becky, and by the way, we were married 50 years this summer. And